Started Brother Martin High School and helped with coaching at his alma mater. Went on to LSU, where he starred from 1984 through 1987 under Bill Arsparger and Mike Archer. Spent time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. LSU, of course, coming off of a thrilling last-second win over Florida this past Saturday night, and they will host Kentucky Saturday night at 6:30 at Tiger Stadium. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Tommy Clapp. Tommy?
Thank you all for having me. First, I'd like to say me and Todd were talking earlier. It was kind of interesting thinking back to when the Tulane LSU rivalry was still something meaningful. Kind of missed those days, to be honest with you. And I tell you what, I always tell people, you know, some of my fondest memories of playing at LSU weren't beating USC on the road or Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame. It was beating Tulane 5 years in a row. And he can tell you that last game that I played in the Superdome was at Mark Zeno and Terrence Jones. It was a great football game. I think you know, we capitalized on a 4th and 7. I told Todd, I said, Tommy Hodson tells a story. He came up to the line of scrimmage. His primary receiver was Wendell Davis. His secondary was Raji McGee. Well, they split Sammy Martin out into a little slot position, and the freshman defensive back from Tulane, if I remember correctly, was Mike Riley. Came up to man press on Sammy Martin, and right there Hodson said, there's no way. Sammy put the move on him from De La Salle High School, turned at 7 yards, caught the ball, fell forward. We're on the field having a heart attack, thinking we might lose to Tulane our senior year, but Tommy was able to get the ball to Sammy, fell forward, made the first down, and obviously I think 2 or 3 plays later, Eddie Fuller went in for the touchdown. So great memories there. I'm kind of sad to see that rivalry kind of go away. How interesting would it be if we could get an LSU game at the new stadium? That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? It'd be kind of packed, I would imagine. But I guess, you know, to go back to Coach Monica's point, talking about Dr. Phil, I feel like I'm almost acting as Dr. Phil for some delusional LSU fans, so hopefully I can provide some assistance to anyone out in the audience that might have that same problem. But I guess my first thing as I thought about some of the things that I wanted to discuss pertaining to LSU was, what did you expect, right? I mean, I hate to sound like it's offering excuses, but reality is what it is. And certainly to kind of review real quick the LSU-Florida recap, what a fantastic win for the program. Obviously, both programs are in a position right now struggling a little bit. I've actually heard some people question, well, the tight end dropped the ball, or we did this or that. Anytime you can ask these coaches, you can go into an opposing team's stadium, certainly in the condition that team was after 2 brutal losses to Mississippi State and Auburn, and come out with a win. That's a significant thing, a great positive for the program, more importantly, a great positive for the kids. It's a very young football team, but in typical Coach Miles fashion, they played hard. They played for the entire game. They had some things happen to them late. They were able to overcome that, and again, battle to the end. Concerning things that I saw coming out of the game, obviously special teams. It's something that Coach Miles has had a pretty good run for quite some time. He's always had an exceptional group of special teams kids that have historically been an advantage. Well, against Florida, obviously a couple of the big returns, a missed extra point almost cost us the game, and the continued struggles at quarterback. I'll get into that here in just a second. But positives that came out of the game was, it looks like the signs of life coming again with the running game. As crazy as many of you all may think I am, against Auburn, our first down success was phenomenal. We ran the ball, it was 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. Unfortunately, 2nd and 3rd down, we might have actually been negative yardage for the whole game. But positioned well. I went into that game thinking to myself, if we can win first down, we'll have a chance against Auburn. We won first down and we got crushed, so that tells you what I know. But at the end of the day, there were signs of life. Against Florida, I'll be honest with you, is a quality SEC defense, has given up, I think, 11 runs total year to date that were over 10 yards. LSU had 10 in that game. That's you know, Leonard Fournette is coming out partying, looked fabulous running the football, very physical, running downhill. It kind of looked like LSU of old in terms of running the football. So that is an encouraging sign. still running against stacked boxes and whatnot, so it's going to have to be something that plays out the rest of the year. Defensively, significant, great performance against that Florida team, which we all know offensively struggles mightily right now, but LSU went in and took care of business, and again, something to build on. What did I mean by what did we expect? You lost 85% of your offense last year, quarterback, 2 receivers, a stud running back, an offensive lineman, and actually a second team back in blue who's doing a great job for the Houston Texans now. I think would be a great addition if he had stayed. Very difficult to replace 85% of your offense. So I did, coming into this year, expect a little bit of a step back in how we came out. The other thing is 30 underclassmen, somewhere close to that range in the last 3 years have left the program. You know, LSU has been lucky and blessed in terms of how they recruit to be able to replace that. But over time, that's an impossible task. You just cannot continue to replenish. You can ask these guys, if they were losing 8 or 9 juniors every year, what would the face of their program look like? It's a challenge. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, sometimes perplexing in terms of how our juniors are. Typically at most programs, be it Alabama, USC, if you lose a junior, it's typically going to be a kid that's going to be a first, second, maybe a third-round draft choice. And LSU in years past, we lost juniors that don't even get drafted. So that's a perplexing thing. I'd like to see that change a little bit. You know, when you look at teams like Mississippi State, there's 26 seniors on that football team this year. And a lot of those are fifth-year seniors. I tell you what, that does a world of good for a program. I'm actually happy for State. Maybe not too happy, but at the end of the day, it is a pleasure watching a senior-dominated football team do what most of us would expect they would do. So, to me, that is somewhat pleasing to watch. LSU, we got 4 to 5 freshmen on each side of the ball, true freshmen that are playing either starting or playing major contributing roles. That tells you you're going to have a little bit of growth left to do. Certainly, first part of the year has looked as such. So, defensively, you know, Coach Miles for the last decade has always had a defense that he can defer to, right? He always plays to his defense. It's a field position game. He's not going to take a lot of risk, and he's had that defense that has allowed him to do that. Guess what? This year we do not. I think the junior defections have really caught up to LSU, primarily in the defensive tackle spot. Right? We've lost a lot, be it Michael Brockers, Ego Ferguson, Anthony Johnson, Benny Logan. These are all guys that would still be within the system right now. How different would this defense look, right? Because the one thing we saw against Mississippi State and to a degree Auburn, you know, we're probably not as strong as we have been up the middle, obviously. At the end of the day, you're talking about 4 or 5 NFL quality guys right now that are no longer on your roster, and it's an impact. The other thing I see is it's affected our rotation. From a defensive tackle spot, we probably rotated 4 or 5 guys historically. They're struggling to find that 3rd or 4th guy to rotate right now. I talked to Jay recently. I hope they offer Briston Guidry. I've watched this kid enough. I think he's a heck of a football player. But with that being said, we're just in that down cycle right now because, like I said, Miles doesn't have that defense to play to. And the other problem is obviously the quarterback play. Last year, how many times did we watch a 3rd and long? I think LSU's 3rd down conversion percentage last year was one of the best in the country. How many times did we watch people stack the box and Zach Mettenberg hit either OBJ or Jarvis Landry across the middle for 15 to 20 yards? It happened all year long. I don't think we've seen one of those crossing patterns yet this year. It's a big difference when you can force people to exit the box to cover. There goes Jeremy Hill for 10, 12 yards, right? So I think in the progressive nature of this team, as the quarterback play hopefully gets better, what I anticipate to see is it open up the running game that much more, and the Leonard Fournettes of the world will continue to kind of grow at an exponential rate. So I believe that, you know, things aren't as dire as we tend to believe they are. I think LSU's got enough talent, young, absolutely. Going to be a tough remainder of the year, absolutely. But I believe the program with the youth movement, if we can correct a few things from a quarterback spot, I think they're going to be a pretty formidable team. Looking at next week, Kentucky, it's a huge game. Kentucky's going to be tough. You know, my old coach, Pete Jenkins, we used to always grade teams, whether they were, you know, he used to call them a 10-minute team, a 30-minute team, or a 60-minute team. We used to kill Kentucky every year, but we graded them a 60-minute football team because they fought hard. This year, Coach Stoops has got a pretty good program, got a good thing going on. They're 5-1 right now. LSU certainly is not in a position to overlook anyone, but if we can get that victory and go 6-2 heading into Ole Miss, how much fun would it be? Because I'm sure everybody would automatically assume LSU is going to get blown out. Those are typically the ones that we can probably step up. And, you know, again, we say SEC West, Catholic League. You know, most of the time I'm an SEC guy, but I tell you what, I would love to see LSU have an opportunity to step on an Ole Miss season right now. So it'd be a nice thing. But that's pretty much all I got. Does anybody have any questions?
Raise your hand, question.
Quarterback situation. To me, it's evident that Jennings is going to be young, coming up. Why is it a philosophy to play young? If they're at least even, why wouldn't you play young guy? Let him grow, as we said, because he's got to shut his ceiling. He's got to college Jennings.
I think they tried to, and again, unfortunately, I think it would probably have been better to let the young Brandon Harris kid get a start against New Mexico State. I mean, how unrealistic is it to, you know, start a true freshman in his first game, right, in a hostile environment in the top 5 football program in Auburn? It almost happened. Look, I've watched Brandon Harris throw the ball. He's got a cannon. He's very accurate. And in the Auburn game, it looked like he was trying to throw to 7-foot receivers all day long, coming over the top. He just didn't play as well. To answer your question as best as I can, you know, right now I think LSU probably looks at the quarterback position as a position they don't anticipate a lot of plays coming out of that position right now. They want their offensive line to take games over and run the football. We saw a little bit of that this week. Hopefully it'll continue to grow. I really don't see Les or the offensive staff taking too many chances. I'd love to see Brandon Harris get a number of snaps at some point. I certainly hope he doesn't sit on the bench the rest of the year because I do believe he is the better upside for our program. I'd love to see him get some time in this year so he can step into next year and hopefully be our starting quarterback. I think we got better potential with him. So.
Yeah, Tommy, how's your number 1 son doing and then your number 2 son?
Say it again.
Yeah. How's your number 1 son doing at LSU?
He is my son William's a freshman at LSU. He plays offensive line. He's on the travel squad. He's I mean, heck, it was week 5. I think he took his first scout team rep, so he's been getting a lot of meaningful reps. They want to protect his red shirt, which I agree with. I mean, that's, you know, I absolutely want him the red shirt. I think it's beneficial to him. But he's playing center, and I was laughing with somebody earlier. I said center. I told my kid, I said offensive line. I think he'll be a great offensive lineman. He's a big defensive mindset, athletic kid. And I said, but whatever you do, don't play center. He called me the first week and said, Dad, they moved me to center. So.
And then your number 2 son, is he going to be 285 or 220?
You know, I think I've got 3 more at Brother Martin, a junior, a sophomore, and an 8th grader. My junior is a starting right guard. He's a heck of a football player. I just wish genetically he had picked up a little bit more. He's probably 6'1.5", 235, 240. So probably not. Now my sophomore, he plays a lot along the defensive front. Have yet to be seen, and certainly our 8th grader is a good little football player. So, you know, we're not 10 gallons of milk a week anymore. We're probably down to 6, but so we still got a ways to go. Any other questions? Thank you.